Oh my god, where am I going now? I'm just walking from the office where I took my driving test and I got it. Oh my god, first time in 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 over 2 years that I've driven. That was my test. I never drove for over 2 years and I got it. I got it. I got it. Oh god, my head, me hungry, me tired. I'm gonna do a proper video, but I just wanted to share my excitement. Praise Jesus. So if you are watching this video, you would have seen from the title that I passed my driving test on my first attempt with no practice from a driving school or anybody. I had not driven in over 2 years. I never went around a steering wheel and I passed my test. I'm still like in a daze, like I'm wondering, is this for real? It's still playing over in my mind because it was just yesterday and it just feels so real. Like, is this for real? Is this like, I don't know, it's I'm speechless. So I wanted to share with you though what I did, and hopefully something I share will be of benefit to you. So even before I share, I want to just share with persons who are not familiar with the Japanese driving test system. It is really rigorous. A lot of persons have failed numerous times. I have a friend who told me she failed 7 times, and there are other persons. As a matter of fact, I have never spoken to anybody who took the test once and passed it. So I mean, I only attribute it to God's favor. Honestly, God's favor, because like I told you, I had not driven in a while and I didn't get any practice with the driving instructors here and stuff. So, and maybe that's a blessing too in disguise. So here's what I did. So if you have experience driving, you have your international driver's license and you just want to transfer it to Japanese license, it's a little bit easier if you can prove that you were driving in your country about 3 months, or at least 3 months after having your license. You must be able to prove that. And it's not, you can either use your passport, or if you can get a letter from your driving organization in your country to prove. They just need to verify that you actually were driving. So if you can verify that, it makes the process a whole lot easier. So I was able to verify that I was driving in Jamaica for over 20 years. Was it 20? Roundabout 20 years that I was driving, and I was able to prove that. Fortunately, the organization that distributes driving license in Jamaica is the same organization I was working with before I left. So the letter that I got, I was able to use that letter to verify that I was really driving. So if you're able to do that, then you just need to go in with your documents. They will assess it and they will instruct you how to go and make your appointment. You go and make your appointment for your driving test. Now I want to make it clear that I spoke with a lot of people, like and everybody I spoke with, they were scared about the test. Like, it's really hard and they ask you to do a lot of things and you're not going to pass on the first time. So this is one thing I want you to be mindful of. Be careful of the information that you receive and how you process it, because I could have taken those negative experiences and internalized them and projected them even while I was doing the test. I didn't do that. I went in with the intention that I'm going to pass this test the first time. I'm not going back. I'm going to do it once. So even though I knew that there are persons who went several times and they failed several times, I still believe that I am going to pass this test. So I did that. But it's useful to talk to people because you can hear what their experience was like, what were the areas that they were weak in, what did the assessors say they needed to do on the test, and you can use that and better your driving experience. So that's exactly what I did. I just took the information I got. I made sure I asked specific questions like, what did the instructor say you needed to do to pass the test? And I just used that information. Granted, remember, in all of this, I never drove. I never went around the steering. But in my mind, I was always driving. I don't know if you know that driving is more mental than physical. So I wasn't physically driving, but mentally I was taking note every time I was with persons who were driving. I would take note of how they would signal, how they would turn, how they would examine the road to see if it was clear and stuff. So I was always driving in my mind. Then there are some books, at least 2 books I know of. There's one that you would use if you are a fresh driver, meaning you're not able to verify your international license and you just have to get the full Japanese license. You will have to read this book. I'm gonna post a picture. I started reading this book because I didn't know there was one for the transfer of the license, and about 1/3 way through the book I was like, this is ridiculous. There's no way I'm going to finish this book, because my appointment was like in 3 weeks and I was working full-time during the days. By the time I got home at evenings, there are other things I had to do, and there was just not enough time to read this book. And I was like, Lord, this is crazy. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to be able to finish this. And the information in the book is extremely useful. Fortunately, I had a coworker who introduced me to this book that I'm gonna post. And this is the book that I used pretty much, and I just read it through. I noticed that there was some information that was extremely critical to me passing the test, and so I zeroed in. I focused on those information. And listen to me. The exact information that is in the book is what they are going to test you on. Read it, digest it, drive it. You have to use the information exactly as it is in the book. So even if you're watching YouTube videos, if you're listening to the experiences of other persons, where there are variances, use the information in the book, because that's exactly what they're going to test you on. So the process is pretty much, it's easy, but it's a full day depending on where you go. I didn't want to be the first one to do the test because I wanted to see what the others were doing, and so during the day I kind of just stepped back a little. I didn't want to be the first one to go and register and stuff, so I waited a little, and I was the second to last person who did the test. So I was able to see all the mistakes that the other persons were making before me, so I wouldn't make those mistakes. So when you go for the test, you will do the written test and the practical test on the same day. It's not the same for persons who are just going to get the fresh license. For the transfer, when you go, you do both tests on the same day. So first you will do the written test. The written test starts at 10 o'clock. And if you are late, you ain't gonna do that test. When we were inside the room being told what to do, given the instructions and stuff, somebody came and attempted to open the door. It was locked. And the instructor just went and said, no, you're late. You can't do the test. I was shocked. Yeah, but if you're late, you're not going to be able to do the test. So you have to be on time. So you will do the written test. There are 10 questions and they are relatively easy. Some of the questions can be a bit tricky because for me, there were a few questions that were not so clear, and so I kind of guessed. They're true or false questions, so you can guess. You should guess. So you need to get 7 out of 10 questions to pass the test, and clearly I passed. So then after you do the written test, you have to wait for another half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on how long you take to do the test. So the test starts at 10. We get the results at 11. So after you get the written test results, then you will go and do your eye test, which was pretty easy too, as long as if you know a little Japanese, it makes it easier, but they will help you in terms of trying to speak a little English. And remember, I did my test in Okinawa, so maybe it's a little different. I realized actually that the test is different depending on which prefecture you do the test in. So that's something you might want to consider. Then after you do the eye test, they will make your appointment for the driving test. So you have to make 3 payments. One, you pay for the written test, then you pay to rent the car, and then you pay to get the license when the license is approved. So I made a note of how much I paid. So the written test was 2,550 yen. To rent the car for the practical driving test, I paid 1,450 yen, and then for the license, I think I paid 2,050 yen. I think so. I don't remember the exact figure, but that gives you an idea of how much you will pay for the entire thing. So before you go to do the driving test, they give you a half an hour instruction. They show you the course, and I'm going to post pictures of the course because this is information that I found useful too. I found it online and I was able to familiarize myself with the course. When I went to the driving center, I went and looked at the physical course itself, and somehow when I was looking at it, the information that I had received from the other individuals who did the test about it being it being difficult, and you know how the roads in Japan are extremely small. They are much smaller than at least in my country, and so I was worried because the car they give you is a full-size car. Japan has 2-size cars, or yeah, they have smaller cars they call K cars. They are a little smaller than the average cars that we know in Jamaica and in other parts of the world too. And then they have the regular sized cars. What we did the test on were regular sized cars. So I was worried that the road would be too tiny for me to maneuver this regular car. But when I looked at the course, it looked pretty. It was wide enough. So they give you this half-hour session where they show you the course. They tell you what you're supposed to do. They tell you what if you do this, you will not be able to finish the test. They tell you exactly what you will do, what will cause you to fail if you do it. So I found that really, really, really useful. And they were just reinforcing a lot of the information, if not most of the information, if not all of the information they have in the book. You have to read the book. Read through that book with a fine-tooth comb. Like, really seriously go through the book. So after you do that half-an-hour session, they will tell you who will be your assessor for the test. So we went down to the waiting area to go, and persons went before me. Now, this is the critical part. You have to take note of what the other persons who go before you are doing. And it's so much easier to see the mistakes that other persons make than to correct yourself when you're doing the same thing. But take note of the mistakes that you see. Will see the mistakes that people will make before you and try not to make the same mistakes. Because that's exactly what I did. I saw people driving over the curb. I saw people revving as they start off. That's something that you should not do. Don't do it. When you start off the vehicle, just slowly lift your foot off the brake. Slowly, the vehicle will start advancing. And then slowly put your foot on the gas pedal. If you go and suddenly lift your foot off the brake and immediately press the gas, they're gonna make you fail. They're gonna fail you, because they're thinking that you are such an aggressive driver and you're not taking care to look around. So you be careful of that. All right, so I'm gonna walk you through exactly what the actual driving process is like. So when the instructor calls you, when the assessor calls you, make sure you look around the vehicle. This is not something that we are accustomed to. You're going to drive, you just go in a vehicle and you drive. Here, it is different. You have to physically bend down, look under the vehicle at the back, then go to the side. When you're going to the side of the vehicle, you look left, you look right, and make sure the way is clear. You know the way is clear, but this is a test. So look left, look right, make sure the way is clear. Go to the front, bend down, and look under the vehicle. You're looking for rats and babies and all kinds of things that might be under there. You don't want to crush them, okay? And go to the next side and just look and be sure that there's nothing there. When you go back to the vehicle to enter the vehicle, when you open the door and you sit in the seat, do not just slam the door shut. Pull the door closely, check to make sure there is nothing that will obstruct the door from closing. If you just go and shut the door, you're gonna lose points. So make it a two-step movement. One, pull the door closer, make sure nothing is there that would prevent it from closing or would be caught in the door when you close it. And then you slowly pull the door in to close it. This is something I'm just remembering now that I didn't do. I didn't lock the doors, but I didn't fail because of it. So I don't know if it is, if you really have to. When you sit in the driver's seat, you're adjusting your seat, adjusting your mirrors, the rear view mirror and your side mirrors. Make sure you adjust them. You have to adjust your seat and make sure you're holding your steering at 10 to 2 or quarter to 3. Then after you have adjusted those, you're checking your brake, checking that the vehicle's in park, and checking that your handbrake is up, it's effective. Then the instructor will tell you to start. So you start the vehicle, put it in drive, and make sure you release your handbrake. Make sure you release your handbrake. Like I said before, when you start off the vehicle, you don't need to use gas. Just slowly lift your foot off the brake and the vehicle will advance. Use your indicator to check around. You have to exaggerate, like go all out. So you're checking your left, you're checking mirror, side mirror, check your rear view mirror, check your other mirror, check to the side, and to look if anything is coming behind you, you physically have to turn. So don't just look in the mirror like you're looking. Turn so they know you are actually checking. And you do that every single time you're going to turn. So if you're making a right turn, make sure you check the mirror here and turn. turn. Don't be afraid. I mean, exhaust it if you can. That's what they want you to do. So also make sure when you're going around the corners that you do not use, if possible, don't use any acceleration. Don't accelerate. Don't press on the gas. Try to slow down before you get to the curb so that you don't have to use the brake around the curb. It's actually better if you use the accelerator around the curve than the brake. The stop signs, you will see it in Japanese. It doesn't say stop in English, but you will see tomare. You must learn how to read that sign. Tomare. It means stop. You have to physically stop. Stop for 3 seconds. And before you go, check around. Check left, right, turn. If you're going to make a right turn, you need to check your right. If you're going to make a left turn, check your left. Every single time you're going to do it. Also, when you come to the end of the crank and the S curve, treat both of them as stop signs. There are no stop signs there, but treat them as a stop sign, believe me. I'm telling you what I did, okay? So treat those as stop signs. Now, I did make an error in my test, and it's surprising because I thought I would fail because of it. I actually missed one of the lanes. There are parallel lanes going in the same direction, and I thought it was just, they were just opposite lanes. So instead of turning, going into the right, the lane to the right to make a right turn, I kept left, and the instructor said to me, Miss Davis, there are 2 parallel lanes. You should have been in the other lanes. I was like, oh my goodness, I just failed this test. But he allowed me to redeem myself because he recognized that I genuinely didn't realize that there were 2 parallel lanes. So if you make a mistake, don't beat up on yourself about it, because the instructors, the assessors will be lenient if they recognize that you are a good driver, that you're being very careful. And you know, we make mistakes all the time, so I don't think they're gonna kill you for that. So just be mindful of that. And so I just did that, and when I went back to park, still looking around, still turning and checking. When you park the vehicle, they will tell you, when you park, make sure you go as close as possible to the side where you're going to park. Make sure the vehicle is close. They tell you don't make it too far, and don't, of course, clearly you do not want to drive upon the wall because you're going to fail. So make sure you go as close as possible, and they tell you where to align the vehicle. So you will see the numbers there. They tell you number 1, number 4, whatever. So make sure your vehicle is aligned. They will give you the instructions in the session you have before you go driving. Make sure you stop right there. When you're using your brake, they tell you you have to pump your brake like 3 times. So don't use it suddenly. Don't press down on your brake suddenly, because that can be dangerous. If, for example, you have somebody coming behind you and you suddenly press your brake, unless you really have to. So they advise you to pump at least 2 to 3 times instead of just one sudden touching. What else? So yes, when you're exiting your vehicle, you have to check again. Check to make sure nothing is coming. So use your side mirror, turn and check, make sure nothing is coming. When you open the door, don't open it wide at once. It's a 2-step process again. So open it slight to check if anything is coming. If it is clear, then you open it wide and get out. The instructor will tell you that this is a part of the test as well. So, and then they'll ask you to remain in the vehicle, and then they will tell you if you have passed or failed. Fortunately for me, my instructor said, Miss Davis, you pass. I was like, yes. I was trying to contain my excitement, but when he said that, I could not hold it. I was like, thank you, arigatou gozaimasu, arigatou gozaimasu. I was besides myself. I'm still besides myself because I'm telling you, it's like a weight has lifted off my shoulder. Like, I mean, it's just amazing. And I'm telling you, this is something I have been praying about for a long time. I prayed. My friends and I have been praying about this for a long time, and so believe me, it's an indescribable feeling right now to be able to have my Japanese driver's license. So yeah, that's what I did. Oh, one thing I forgot to share, when the instructor is familiarizing you with the course, and there's a diamond that's in the driving course with arrows going. It shows where to turn right, how to take the right turn. When the instructor was doing the introduction session, he passed the car directly over that diamond. When you're driving, do not drive on the diamond. The arrows are what you're to use to guide you to drive. So go as close as possible to the arrow and then turn, but do not drive on the diamond. The diamond is actually the mid center of the road, and if you drive on the diamond, other persons drive on it, there's going to be an accident. So don't drive on it, just use the arrows to guide you. I was a little confused when he did it, because in my mind I knew I read it in the book and other persons said that it's a guide. So when you're driving, don't drive on it. It's just a guide. So that's what I did for my driving test. I hope this will be helpful to you, or to someone you know, and that you too will be able to pass this test in maybe the next time you do it, or if it's going to be your first time. Make sure you just access all the information that you can. There are a lot of YouTube videos. Watch those videos, watch what the persons do, but like I said, read the book, and if you can practice driving, it would probably help. I didn't, but I mean, that's my favor. So thank you so much. I will see you next time. Bye.